Oh, hi! I see you noticed my wristwatch. Would you like to draw one? I always say before you start drawing, do a bit of warming up, especially if you are going to draw ellipses and lines. And since watches are mostly made out of ellipses, yeah, it's a good idea to freshen up that muscle memory a bit. Since you guys tend to like my how to draw insert random object videos, I thought it was time for me to make another one of these. But I also wanted to combine it a bit, just a bit, with a teaching video, since I have people commenting and asking questions on my previous videos. And while I know that most of those people will never see this particular video, I still hope it will be useful to some of you nice viewers. In my ellipses video, I was mostly concentrating on creating ellipses with the help of boxes. But not everyone likes boxes and we don't always have to use them. One of the main features of an ellipse is that in 3D space they are drawn around axes, or they revolve around axes. And this is what you can see me do here as well. I like to start with the axis around which my ellipse will revolve. And I give these sometimes a little arrow just because I saw it somewhere, I don't remember where, but I thought it looks quite sexy. And as I said in my ellipsis video, this main axis, when it comes to the construction, will form the shortest diameter of our ellipse. And I use short diameter so I don't confuse you with all the axis talk. Meanwhile, the longest diameter of our ellipse will be perpendicular to our short diameter. But I feel that plenty of people have issues with ellipses in general, so I am thinking of doing an ellipsis part 2 video where we go more in depth into constructing ellipses without boxes around them. How about you tell me in the comments if you would be interested in a video like that? For now, I will continue with the presumptions that you are okay with constructing ellipses. And with that, drawing watches becomes a little bit easier because watches are nothing more than two cylinders that are perpendicular on each other. We have one hollow cylinder that goes around the wrist of the person, and we have another cylinder that is quite flat that is perpendicular on our first cylinder. It is up to you to shape these cylinders. You can vary the thickness and width of the wristband cylinder, and unlike I did, you don't have to totally complete the cylinder. Now, looking back on the video, I realized that aesthetically it would have been nice to have at least one watch where the wristband is not fully drawn. There are two tricky parts to draw watches, at least tricky for me. One is the part of the watch that we look upon, the face, where you have several levels, where you have to draw ellipses that are concentric with each other, but also like displaced in space. And the other is the housing that is around this round face part. This is usually bent in space and it also is tapered, so that both the bend and the taper give very strong distortions when you draw them in space. So this can go wrong very quickly. This is something that I struggle with myself. In this first watch you can see that I just did one ellipse after the other for the face of the watch, just hoping that the viewer's eye will filter out all the lines and only interpret the correct ones. As for the housing around the round watch face, in this case, I didn't really construct much. I just added some extra parts around the wristband part, hoping that it will work out. I use a similar approach with my second watch, but you can see that there I actually put a little bit more thought in it. Still, the side that is not visible is not correct and I don't like it too much, but enough of the watch is working so that in the end I was satisfied with the overall drawing and I didn't feel the need for fixing it. After my first warm-up watch, I wanted my second watch to be a bit cleaner, so I spent more time with the construction on my watch with the light cold gray marker. This way I did all my ellipses with a marker, and with the fine liner I could use less strokes, thus making my lines look a bit more intentional, not having the endless overlapping lines. For the shading, I move between cold grays 2, 3 and 4. I try not to start with the darkest shade. I lay down some basic shadow areas and then I just layer on top of it and around it with the lighter and darker values depending on what I think works best. In the third watch you can see me use boxes and rectangles, and yes, while I did construct most of my ellipses here just based on the revolution axis. I do need rectangles and boxes every now and then to try and keep my proportions in check. This is also where I was trying to think a bit more about the housing around our watch face and trying to integrate it into the wristband. But you will see me struggle most with my final attempt at drawing a wristwatch. This video is not really meant to be an in-depth breakdown of drawing wristwatches, as you can probably see by now. It is supposed to show you how I tackle drawing objects with a lot of ellipses in them, and in this case, wristwatches. And also, I feel like wristwatches are a beloved topic for industrial designers to draw, and I haven't drawn wristwatches in a while. Wow, wristwatches. It's not easy to say if you're not an English speaker. But yeah, wristwatches are all about drawing ellipses, and while ellipses are not easy, as long as you try to simplify your object into basic shapes like cylinders and boxes, and then slowly chip away from them like a sculptor would and just add to them, you can end up with a pretty nice result. Anyways, that was it for this week's video. I do hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something new from it. If you have any questions and comments, leave them down below. I try my best to answer them all. Hitting that like button will give you +3 experience points when it comes to drawing ellipses, so you don't want to lose out on that. Links to support me are in the description box thingamajig. And as always, the most important thing is that you lovely folks have a great time, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.